You play a computer game. You play with either a controller or a keyboard and mouse, possibly if you're on the PC. This is the tradition. So long as you're not throwing a Wiimote or your limbs near a Kinect, of course.
Just throw that ball up in the air, and when oh, jeez.
The game controller is not only a vital part when playing computer games, but in some cases it can become an icon in its own right. Think of the amount of merchandise which has been created based off the design of the original Nintendo Entertainment System controller, or the Sony PlayStation controller, which has changed little in terms of basic design after 3 generations of consoles. Over the past few decades, we've seen both console makers and third-party organisations come up with curious and varied designs for controllers to give players a new and, in theory, enhanced way to play our games. Many of these ambitious or unorthodox approaches have seen creations of controllers which can be best described as infamous, absurd, or just downright bizarre. My name's Troy, and this is 13 of the most bizarre gaming controllers ever made. Back in 1995, a certain company called Apple Incorporated launched a game console called the Bandai Pippin. The controller for Apple's product was called the Applejack, and both wire-connected and wireless versions were created. This boomerang-shaped device also incorporated a trackball in the centre and a colour button layout, which reminds us of an Xbox controller. Actually, the shape of the Applejack also looks reminiscent of the early concept design for the PlayStation 3 controller. Sadly for Apple, the Bandai Pippin was a short-lived flop, but they've since made up for that by making zillions with more recent products bearing the word I. The Jaguar was the one and only Atari console to use a modern gamepad. The design used for this console, however, was widely criticised for its weird and overly complex presentation. The Jaguar's controller featured as many as 17 buttons, the reason being so it could suit future gamers, but those games didn't come soon enough before the Jaguar itself was retired. Therefore, it looked like a diabolical crossbreed between a gamepad and a telephone, for no good reason. This dish-shaped invention was launched by Sega for its Saturn console back in 1996 in response to the Nintendo 64's analog controller, which was back then widely considered revolutionary. Unlike the 64's controller, however, the 3D control pad sort of resembles a traditional crepe maker and rivals the original Xbox pad for the title of most unnecessarily bulky and awkward controller ever. Whoa, where to start? Another unusual NES accessory, only this time it kind of looks like a dinner tray. In actual fact, this device employs both a pilot wheel thing and infrared sensors which allow you to control the game with the power of hand movements. That was the intention anyway, but the U-Force's unreliability has seen it appear on numerous web pages written to highlight the worst gaming peripherals. Oh boy! In 2002 or 2003 for Europe, an Xbox exclusive game called Steel Battalion was launched, where you control giant walking tanks. To play the game properly, you needed the set of joysticks, buttons and pedals. To buy the game, with the new complete controller set bundled in, UK gamers needed to pay £130. In short, it's ambitious, arguably awesome, but crowded and pricey. Marketed as a martial arts simulator, the Sega Activator was a black hexagonal ring which the player placed on the floor around them like a dropped hula hoop. You would then try to play a fighting game by kicking in the air and hoping the activator's sensors would pick up your moves. Ultimately though, this peripheral has been slated for its inaccuracy and all-round uselessness. Still, at least the gaming industry has seemingly gotten body motion control sorted with devices like the Xbox Kinect. Or, on some evidence, maybe not. Yeah. This controller was made for the Sega Mega Drive, or the Genesis in America, and was only sold in Japan. I can see why. Just trying to comprehend the layout of this thing hurts my brain. Yeah, no. Sword-slashing action game Onimusha 3 was launched back in 2004, along with a special new controller. I mean, it looks pretty cool, but also isn't the most practical of controllers. And there wasn't even a blade attached. Rip-off. The Space Orb 360. This PC gaming controller was released in 1996 and appears to have had a chunk stolen from it and swapped out for a piece of dark matter. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to play a game with an orange? If yes, this could provide all your answers. Oh dear me. This is by far the smuttiest entry on the list. The Joystick is a third-party controller compatible with the old Atari 2600 console, and it works in 4 directions like a joystick, except you strap it onto your manhood to give you that phallic feeling whilst playing your chosen game. Again, like the Suma, this controller isn't actually on sale, but clear instructions are available online telling me how you make your own. No thank you. Oh, when it comes to overly complicated and poorly laid out gaming controllers, the AG5 doesn't so much take the biscuit, but it takes several entire biscuit factories. In other words, it's a mess. The device carries as many as 42 buttons, which are supposed to carry out everyday PC activities, including gaming, into a compact package. As if this thing didn't look bizarre enough, 6 of the buttons are shift keys. I can only assume that the target market for a controller like this were mutants. And that was my list. Did I miss any out? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to like, share and subscribe.